In this podcast episode, Dr. Rhonda Patrick provides a comprehensive and deeply scientific exploration of key health and vitality protocols grounded in the latest research. She and host Andrew Huberman discuss a broad spectrum of interconnected topics, including innovative exercise routines, nutrition, supplementation strategies, and lifestyle interventions designed to optimize physical and cognitive health, reduce disease risk, and promote longevity. The discussion also delves into gut health, inflammation, metabolic flexibility, sleep, and the emerging data pointing to how relatively small changes in daily habits can have outsized effects on wellness. Dr. Patrick underscores exercise as an essential non-negotiable akin to daily personal hygiene. Her routine blends cardiovascular workouts, such as rowing, assault bike sessions, and running, with structured resistance training, including heavy multi-joint lifts like deadlifts, squats, and cleans. She emphasizes the significance of high-intensity interval training, not just for cardiovascular fitness, but for its acute and substantial cognitive benefits, such as enhanced executive function, impulse control, and increased serotonin release. The conversation highlights the power of brief bursts of vigorous physical activity, termed exercise snacks, or vigorous intermittent lifestyle physical activity, VILPA. Remarkably, accumulating just 9 minutes of these short, unstructured bouts daily is linked to dramatic mortality risk reductions, 40% in all-cause and cancer-related mortality and 50% in cardiovascular mortality. Dr. Patrick stresses the importance of breaking sedentary behavior with simple acts like stair climbing or bodyweight squats, and notes that high cardiorespiratory fitness is a critical longevity predictor, at times outweighing traditional cardiovascular risk factors. Dr. Patrick's strength training involves working down to low-rep sets, singles, doubles, triples, on compound movements, which she describes as mentally and physically the hardest type of exercise. She explains how such training builds strength beyond mere hypertrophy, contributing to brain resilience via the anterior mid-cingulate cortex's neuroplasticity linked to the mental challenge of undertaking unwelcome tasks. Rest periods of about 2 minutes between sets optimize recovery and performance. She advocates a balance of heavy lifting alongside aerobic fitness, emphasizing that resistance training enhances longevity and disease resistance. Her experiences as a competitive athlete with jump rope also evoke the benefits of multi-directional movement and coordination beyond traditional linear workouts. A detailed section unpacks how gut permeability leads to the translocation of lipopolysaccharide, LPS, a component of bacterial cell walls, into systemic circulation after meals. This LPS leaks during normal digestion but is exacerbated by certain dietary patterns, especially refined carbohydrates combined with saturated fats and ultra-processed foods, triggering systemic inflammation and immune activation. LPS binds to LDL particles, creating complexes that evade liver recycling, lodge in artery walls, and lead to macrophage entrapment, foam cell formation, and atherosclerosis. This axis links gut health directly to cardiovascular and neurodegenerative disease risk. LPS presence in circulation also correlates with depressive symptoms via neuroinflammation. Dr. Patrick stresses the importance of limiting postprandial inflammation through dietary choices and reducing gut permeability. Dr. Patrick describes intermittent fasting not just as a caloric restriction tool, but as a means to induce a beneficial metabolic switch, whereby the body transitions from glucose to ketone metabolism after liver glycogen depletion. This switch supports cellular repair mechanisms, including autophagy, and improves mitochondrial efficiency. She typically fasts between 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., stopping eating roughly 3 hours before bedtime, which supports parasympathetic cardiovascular resetting and lowers nighttime blood pressure, a practice linked to significant reductions in cardiovascular risk. While fasting enhances fat burning and improves cognitive clarity through elevated ketone bodies, increasing GABA, she advises flexible personal adaptation guided by feelings and goals, especially acknowledging hormonal and life stage differences. Intermittent fasting combined with exercise optimizes visceral fat loss, improves insulin sensitivity, and positively influences circadian biology. In addressing protein consumption, Dr. Patrick advocates a protein intake between 1.2 and 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight, challenging the prevailing 1 gram per pound paradigm. She highlights the importance of prioritizing training and exercise stimulus over protein obsession, noting that excessive protein often brings unwanted calories and fat gain unless balanced correctly. Meals focus on clean, micronutrient-rich whole foods, pasture-raised chicken, wild salmon, grass-fed steak, paired with nutrient-dense greens to maximize micronutrient intake and minimize inflammatory responses. She underscores the detrimental effects of ultra-processed refined carbohydrates, particularly their role in triggering inflammation through gut barrier disruption. Dr. Patrick emphasizes broad micronutrient coverage through multivitamin use, particularly important for older adults, citing multiple large randomized controlled trials that demonstrate multivitamin supplementation significantly reduces brain aging metrics and associated frailty. She details personalized supplementation choices backed by emerging science, including vitamin D for immune modulation and longevity, omega-3 fatty acids, particularly prescription-grade EPA-DHA, for anti-inflammatory and epigenetic age-slowing effects, creatine for cognitive and muscular performance across the lifespan, magnesium for sleep and neurotransmission, and specific niche supplements like urolithin A for mitochondrial autophagy enhancement and sulforaphane for potent detoxification via NRF2 pathway activation. Creatine dosing is individualized, with newer research suggesting 10 grams daily enhances brain creatine levels and cognitive resilience, especially under stress. Magnesium forms like glycinate and magnesium L-threonate, 3N8, serve different functional purposes, with the latter showing promise for brain bioavailability and cognition, though human data remain preliminary. The podcast stresses the critical role of sleep timing and quality for cardiovascular health, metabolic regulation, and longevity. Avoiding food intake at least 3 hours before bedtime enhances parasympathetic activity, promotes blood pressure dipping during sleep, and reduces postprandial sympathetic activation that may disrupt sleep cycles. Cortisol's circadian rhythm is framed as an orchestrated balance, promoting alertness in the morning and dropping at night, with hormetic stressors like exercise and fasting stimulating beneficial receptor adaptations rather than chronic deleterious elevations. Coherent sleep supports metabolic health by mitigating insulin resistance, visceral fat buildup, and inflammation. Dr. Patrick encourages habit flexibility without rigid idealism to reduce sleep anxiety, recommending addressing the overall pattern rather than perfection. Exercise after poor sleep days can partly mitigate metabolic dysfunction, underscoring the integrative nature of these health behaviors. Glutamine is discussed as a mitochondrial fuel for gut epithelial cells, an essential nutrient for immune cell activation. Although human clinical data remain limited, it has shown promise in reducing respiratory tract infections among endurance athletes and in anecdotal evidence supporting immune resilience during high stress or pathogen exposure periods, with doses adjusted accordingly for comfort and tolerance. N-acetylcysteine, NAC, is recognized for respiratory tract protection and glutathione production, but cautioned against daily overuse due to potential blunting of adaptive oxidant signaling vital for exercise benefits. Targeted antioxidant supplementation is advised mainly during acute stress or illness rather than routine daily dosing. Deliberate heat exposure through sauna or hot tub practices is associated with cardiovascular benefits including improved vascular flexibility, reduced arterial stiffness, and longevity markers. Dr. Patrick typically engages in sauna or hot tub 5 times per week, favoring exposures around 20 minutes at moderate temperatures, 180-degree Fahrenheit. Sauna use supports systemic detoxification, cardiovascular stress adaptation, and potentially epigenetic aging reversal, though mechanisms remain under study. The discussion integrates sauna with lifestyle habits, emphasizing a holistic approach to cardiovascular resilience. The episode touches on microplastics and environmental contaminants such as BPA and forever chemicals, acknowledging their ubiquity and potential health risks. Dr. Patrick advocates reduction of exposure through measures like using glass water bottles, while noting surprising microplastic origins related to paint on glass lids, avoiding processing in plastics when possible, and supporting endogenous detox pathways. She highlights sulforaphane's activation of the NRF2 pathway, which induces phase 2 detox enzymes, improving excretion of harmful pollutants, including benzene and possibly BPA analogs. The concept of hormetic stress via diet and lifestyle to enhance natural detoxification is emphasized over purely chemical avoidance, as complete elimination remains impractical. Dr. Patrick and Andrew discuss various nootropic strategies, including creatine, alpha-GPC, and ketogenic metabolites like beta-hydroxybutyrate. Creatine's emerging role as a cognitive enhancer, particularly under metabolic or sleep stress, is highlighted, with dose-dependent brain uptake potentially exceeding the brain's endogenous synthesis. Alpha-GPC can modestly enhance REM sleep and promote focus without disrupting sleep quality, making it suitable for late-day cognitive demands. Ketones contribute to an optimal excitatory-inhibitory balance, Roux balance of glutamate and GABA, fostering an alert but calm mental state conducive to focus and learning. These practical tools are situated within a broader framework that prioritizes sleep, exercise, and nutrition as foundational to cognitive health. Emerging scientific insights reveal a synergy among supplementation, exercise, and lifestyle factors to slow epigenetic aging and reduce cancer and cardiovascular disease risk. Omega-3 supplementation, particularly in combination with resistance training and vitamin D in older adults, consistently shows reductions in epigenetic markers of biological age and dramatic declines in invasive cancer incidence. Visceral fat modulation through aerobic exercise, intermittent fasting, and calorie management is detailed as a critical target for preventing insulin resistance, systemic inflammation, and the metabolic syndrome that accelerate aging-related diseases. Modulating inflammation, repairing mitochondrial health, and supporting brain-derived neurotrophic signaling underlie many of the discussed interventions. Throughout the conversation, Dr. Patrick emphasizes the importance of individual variation in tuning protocols to personal biology, lifestyle demands, and preferences. Her approach embraces flexibility in exercise timing and intensity, fasting windows, and supplementation, guided by real-time subjective feedback while adhering to underlying mechanistic principles. She clarifies that protocols evolved with age, circumstances, and scientific discovery, and encourages listeners to adopt behaviors that work for you rather than rigid dogma. The balance between optimized physiology and sustainable, enjoyable habits remains a central theme. Acknowledging the complexity and abundance of health information, Dr. Patrick's role as a public health educator is lauded for making cutting-edge science accessible and logically coherent. The podcast exemplifies how embedding mechanistic understanding fosters empowerment and better adherence. Dr. Patrick's dedication over more than a decade to translating research into actionable health protocols continues to be a model for science communication that influences positive behavior change in the general public.